All recordings also will be posted onto a YouTube channel. And then everybody will get a newsletter of all of our panelists' LinkedIn accounts so you guys can connect with them. Okay, we have a question. What specific jobs did you apply for when starting your journey? This is for like any of the panelists. Can you want the next answer?
I think it's always good to start in entry-level positions and positions that you actually have the skills for and that you can fit. So I think a lot of places are looking for people that have just come out of university or have some kind of experience. So when you're applying for something, try and match your skills to what employers are looking for, because that will give you a kind of advantage over other people that are applying for those jobs, and to try and align those skills with what you want to do as well as a career. So therefore you're getting job satisfaction out of what you do as well. That's what I would recommend.
I think for me, when I was first starting off, I was doing a whole bunch of like unpaid positions, but the type of positions I was looking for was like for content creation or, social media roles and everything. And I started working with like, nonprofits where it's like everybody's a volunteer. I think nonprofits are something that a lot of people tend to miss in the music industry just because like, everybody's kind of like on a volunteer basis. So there's no like hierarchy necessarily. So I did a lot of those. And then I also was just reaching out to anybody that I saw like on LinkedIn and stuff. My first role that I ever got as like an internship was at a PR company when I lived in Miami. And it was a Latin American PR company. And they took me on simply because of the fact that like, I said that like I used to run fan accounts and everything and that I knew how to do content creation. I knew how to use Canva and everything, regardless of the fact that, I was the only person who was interning at the time who didn't even speak Spanish, but they still helped me and they helped me with the clients and everything when it came to working with them in general. So I think like people, not necessarily that like you should just like look for unpaid positions at first, but I would like look into nonprofits and stuff.
So don't be scared to create the opportunities for yourself. Like you can get a job or an internship. You can always create the opportunities for yourself. Like for me, one of the things I used to do in high school was I started like a blog. It's just a random blog of me reviewing different albums of my favorite artists. And I just kind of curated it, and then it turned into something where I ended up interviewing my favorite artists, which I kind of now apply to what I'm doing today. You can just build your own opportunities, and it can definitely help on with your resume.
I started my career as a club promoter, and I put on my own shows, selected my own bands for the lineups, and built visibility that way. I actually never really worked for anyone else until Universal moved me out to Los Angeles in '99. I created my own path. I started a record label. I started a recording studio. I started scouting. Like I just did stuff for myself until, and I had a little music conference and festival in Dallas, Texas. Like I just did those things to raise my visibility until someone said, hey, come work for me.
I totally agree with that. I had like a music tech startup where we were like doing digital keepsakes and we put together panel discussions and artist showcase. And like the thing that I would say is absolutely across anything is like you're following your passion, right? Because like the truth is you just want to get paid to do what you want to do already. So like there's nothing stopping you from doing what you want to do already. You just got to do that, and then it's going to attract more of that, and then someone's going to pay you for it. Eventually you'll have the experience, you'll figure it out, and it's like, oh, well, how did you do? I had people that thought like I had a manager, I had management or representation or something because like I put together my own album releases. I put together like, my own projects. And it's that same entrepreneurial spirit that's going to like, that is the heart of the music industry. It's like, it starts with an artist in their garage or doing whatever and just following their passion. So I think it's also the same for the people that for honestly, it's for anything, but I do think it's the same on the management side. It's like, well, what are you interested in, and just start doing those things. Start like Shade said, start having those conversations with people or asking questions, and it's gonna lead you on a crazy path. You're gonna end up in different places, but I think it all builds into one big experience. Like I've done event production, public affairs, marketing, entertainment. I've done so many different things, but now I get to pull all of those together and provide that to artists, provide that to creatives. So I think everything that you're learning along the journey ends up being useful, but starting it is the most important part.
Yeah, so Elisa just asked, what is everyone's proudest moments they've had working in the industry so far? I'm gonna start this off by my first introduction was Kickstarter. So this band, Ghost of Octavius of Seattle, Washington, they first started the Kickstarter for their second album Delirium on October the 30th of 2017. I was 19. So that was my first break. I started a fan page, I added them, talked to them individually. I was the one that DM'd them every time the numbers went up. Within their last 11 days, I was able to get in there and start really mass promoting on all three of my social links and really help them out. They had a $20,000 goal on November 29th of that year. And on November 26th, I was able to get them there. And then the day of their actual deadline, I gave them 5% over that goal. Now, as of recently, for Darling Dead's fan page that I started, we have went from just under 15 members when I started the fan page on April the 7th, all the way to it is June the 4th. We have 377 members.
Yeah.
So it's all about just inviting everybody.
I like the proudest moment for me would be, since I work both in the music and the fashion industry, I kind of like sometimes get to combine those two. So I got to do a big project with a lot of different musical artists, help them get into the fashion industry. We did New York Fashion Week. So a lot of artists got to experience New York Fashion for the first time, got to go to different press events, after shows, and it helped them with their networking, helped them grow their following, helped them grow and meet new people in the industry. So that was like one of the biggest things I got to work on. And then we ended up transitioning those artists and also bringing them to Paris Fashion Week. A lot of them got to go to the Dior show. So it was like such a big thing to see for them.
That's super cool. I think my proudest moment, early in my career as an executive was developing the first A&R Scout training program and platform at a major label where, artists could actually submit their music for the first time, which was, back then, digital music submissions were a no-no at major labels. So being able to have that global platform rollout publicly and collaborating with then rising street artist Shepard Fairey on the design of that platform, and then the results of that becoming like the only A&R Scout training program in the music industry, most successful A&R Scouts in the history of the music industry, and responsible for the discovery of like The Killers and Slim Thug and like hundreds of artists that you guys know today and probably have been fans of for years. So that was kind of a big thing for me.
I can go next. I would say my proudest moment so far was, so there was this band that I wanted to work for, and I was a fan of them, going to a bunch of shows, and at a particular show, I looked at them and said, I'm not coming to another show unless I'm working for you. And a year and a half later, the next show I'm at, I was working for them. So that was definitely a very surreal and special moment for me that I will forever be proud of.
I think for me, like what my proudest moment is, when I was interning at the time at Madison Square Garden, I was working in production, and I had like a lot of like chances to be able to work with artists and everything that came across all the venues that is owned by Madison Square Garden. So I think like one thing that was extremely proud of, like, or at least my favorite moment so far, was I was able to work Harry's show, because like he's my favorite artist, and I was able to do like his Halloween show. So I was like with the photographer at my team, like taking photos of like the fans and everything, and taking photos of like the costumes, and just like be able to interact with fans. Like as a fan, I think that the energy was just like extremely different. And being able to like work with his team backstage, and I recognize these people obviously because I'm a fan, but it's like they don't know me, and that's okay. But it's like being able to like be introduced and everything professionally, it just was like, it felt like a 180 moment to me, just kind of like, wow, like I've been a fan of this artist like over like a decade, and now I'm kind of like working his show, and like I'm like backstage, and like I'm watching the whole entire process of how his concerts work and everything. So I think that was the proudest moment for me as far as like working in the industry and everything so far.
I think that's amazing. I think for me, it's kind of working for Ed Sheeran and Dua Lipa last year and earlier this year to help with the international tours. So they're both English artists, and I helped with the international tours when they came over to the US. So I kind of sorted out all the international passports, the visas, all that kind of stuff. And also being the first Equality and Diversity Ambassador for Triad Education, which is 250 music businesses situated across London, which I'm very proud about, and obviously championing people from underrepresented and unheard groups. So that's probably my proudest moments.
For me, I definitely think it would be the tech startup and like what we were able to accomplish with that. So putting together the panel, putting together the showcase, we were actually participating in a entrepreneur starter program. But the people that we were able to pitch and get our products in front of, like including like, Kehlani, Erykah Badu, like Dave East, where you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm actually like in a room telling this person about what it is that I do, or, able to present a prototype to these people. Um, it's definitely one of those moments that feels like surreal, because you like, again, you also realize people are people, but it's like, oh wow, these are those people, like, these are the people that I actually, want to be able to work with. And just kind of like what Olivia said, to be in the room with them, and you're not like the fan, you are a peer, or you're an equal, or you're somebody that's just doing your job. I think that that would be my proudest moment.
Caitlin asks, are there any online workshops or classes that any of you would recommend to help grow skills or gain experience?
I think that what I've been doing lately is I've been looking into certifications. So I've been doing, small certification classes. I think there's like some from like Google Analytics and everything. But I've been getting like social media marketing like certifications that maybe take like a week or two out of your time to like complete them. People really like seeing those on like your resumes and everything, just because it shows that you took the time outside of work just to have something underneath your belt. So I really like those. And then there's been a lot of upcoming like certification courses, or there's been a lot of upcoming organizations that are doing these type of like mentorship programs. I know that like I did like Fem It Forward, or there's like 1520 Vision, there's Fan to Band, there's General Admission. There's a ton of companies that like people can look into, and you can have a mentor regardless of age, where it's like, should you be accepted into the program, you are immediately matched with people, and it doesn't matter if like they're within like your field or not. It's still somebody that you can look up to and look for guides. So those are a couple of companies that I look into, and just like certifications that I look into that are free, that you don't have to pay for.
And I would just say on that as well, that I think mentors are another good way of kind of building those relationships. And if you've got projects going on and you want to learn more, they're also a good way of sharing that information with, and they might also have contacts that they can share with you to help progress you in your career. So I think that's a great thing that you just said there, Olivia.
Also, like, I'm probably gonna think that I'm about to butcher their name, but Quadio Media has like different classes that they host that are like free. Right now, they're about to host a songwriter class that people could register for. So if you want to learn how to songwrite and like write your own songs, they're about to host that, and it's about to be like an 8-week course. And like Olivia said, internships are also a great way. I'm about to be in an internship with 1520, so I'm about to be helping them out and mentoring 2 different people, just like connecting with different people, and just also a whole bunch of Facebook groups like Girls Behind the Rock. You can just find so different opportunities in those groups where you can build up your skills and connect with new people.
Awesome. Another good one is Music Industry Connections. They run panels like this one, and they also just ran a panel with Lily Is That You, where she shared her TikTok success and just like what that was like, and just her best advice as an artist and everything around that. So that's also a great one.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention real quick too, if you're in college, Grammy U is also a really good resource. I believe they do like mentorship applications. I think those go out like in the fall, and they also host like a bunch of different events. Some of them are online, some of them are in person, but they definitely like offer a wide variety of like events, mentorships, obviously, it's just a bunch of cool things. And they honestly are pretty generally accepting of almost anybody. So like whether you're going to college like for a directly like music specific major, or you know, like even like me where I'm like a writing major, I just had to submit like a couple paragraphs of how I plan to use my major after I graduate in the music industry. So it's definitely a great resource. I would definitely recommend it to anybody that's still in college.
Well, I'm just going to reiterate that we have 2 programs. One is geared towards A&R marketing. One is my A&R Scout training program. We have an ongoing wait list. We rotate every 4 months. You get a lot of hands-on experience. It's fast paced. It's really, really, truly being in the music business and just under the shield of me. So it's kind of fun. You don't have to get chewed out by any of my clients. I take that heat and you get to do the fun work. So definitely check out our programs. And y'all, I'm sorry, I'm gonna leave in a couple of minutes. I'll probably just silently get out, but this has been so fun.
Thank you so much for joining us, Paula. Thank you for being a speaker. It really means a lot. Anybody else has any more questions they can ask? Feel free to ask us any questions.
There's a couple of questions. The first one says, what is your long-term goals? And I think that's just for all the panelists. So I guess just for me, one of my long-term goals is that I definitely just want to like have more of a community just for like women of color, like who want to go into the music industry, who are fans and everything, because I think that like a lot of the times, unfortunately, like when people think of like fans and wanting to go into the industry, they think of like one kind of like stereotype of like what a fan can look like who works in the industry and everything. So I think that's one of my long-term goals, is just, you know, creating a community and a safe space for people like that. But then also career-wise, I think what I want to do is I just kind of like want to freelance, but then I also really plan on eventually working at like a label and doing digital marketing for the artists that, you know, I grew up loving, regardless of if it's the big 3 or not. So I think that's what my long-term goals are for now.
For me, it's kind of been diversifying my income streams for sure, and diversifying what I know about the music industry. So for me, my long-term goals are to finish off a girl band that I'm forming in the UK. So it's going to be kind of a dance, hip hop, and kind of rap band, girl band that I'm forming at the moment, but also kind of to help artists from underrepresented and disadvantaged communities access music, as well as educate people in the music industry on the barriers that certain people face on accessing and entering the music industry. I think that's super important for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and branch into the digital marketing, like what Olivia said. And furthermore, because I want to deal with international business management, that would put me over in places like Germany, Norway, Sweden, and places like that. I know they have Sweden Rock going on and everything. I would be able to represent upcoming American bands over there on their soil over that.
That sounds super cool. So one of my long-term goals, actually it's a short-term goal, I'm actually organizing a digital musical tour. I'm kind of an inside person. I want to create more of those opportunities for artists to be able to express themselves and also to be able to bridge communities, like putting on a 10 city tour along the East Coast and you never have to leave your house, right? So, wherever you are, you're getting to meet these artists and you're able to see this kind of lineup in the same way that you would experience a concert, but also being able to add, I'm real holistic and stuff like that, right? But also being able to add that wellness, that wealth education, those things that would attract certain types of artists to be able to perform and giving people a holistic experience whenever they come and they enjoy music. There's lots of different ways to enjoy artists. And I think artists have so much more than music to offer, but you don't really see that opportunity a lot for them. So to be able to have the opportunity to speak a little bit, about their journey, or to be able to teach people some of the skills that might have helped them get through some hard times, and then having those, kind of come together is something that I'm very, very interested in. And I would love to be able to do that in different regions, internationally. So that is definitely something for long-term goals. But I did have one other note about suggestions from the previous comment. It's also targeting indie artists is great. Like if you can't get maybe like the person that you're a huge fan of, there's probably an indie artist that could use that same assistance, that same help, and you get the experience. So I think that that's also another way to look at it. It's not necessarily, always that you have to be at a major label. There's also independent labels. So I think that there are a lot of ways that you can get the experience that you want, without necessarily having to break in. There's lots of ways to break into the industry, I guess is the best way to put it.
And that also comes back to like networking, because you can also network with indie artists, and from that they'll play shows, and then you'll find the opener, and then it goes around and around and around. But back to goals and just what I want to do in the future, hopefully, I would absolutely love to go on tour with like a band I really love, whether it's like as a tour manager or a merch manager. I actually just worked my first merch gig for a band called COVID, and it was super, super fun, and I just love the whole experience. So I would love to do that, and I would love to grow my music website even more and create such a safe and like very fun music industry.
Like for me right now, my long-term goals is just like building up my business. I've been rebranding, so I'm spending the whole summer working on finishing up the rebrand so I can take that clients again in fall. And I want to like have something where I can build opportunities for women and people who have chronic illnesses. Because like me, I suffer with endometriosis, so a lot of times I can't do the opportunities that I really want to do because I physically cannot like sometimes get up, go out to like different places. Like I would love to go on tour, but I know realistically I can't physically. It'll be too much. So I want to create opportunities for people with chronic illnesses where they're able to like get all these different experiences in the music industry and just have the time of their life. Because sometimes it is sad that sometimes we can't do how we want to physically, but just having those opportunities out there for us, which is why I like remote work, because it's very, very convenient and helps so much. So I definitely want to do that. We have a question from Hannah. What tips do you have for people that don't live in big cities? Should they move to New York City, LA, and London?
I can start answering this question if you guys want. So I live in Pittsburgh. which if you don't know, it's definitely not a major city. We're not the smallest city, of course, but it's very much like a city that's small enough where everybody kind of knows each other, right? So, we definitely are not a music city per se. I think in my experience, what I have found to be helpful is really getting involved within our local scene here in Pittsburgh. So, whether it's like getting to know the people that run like the most well-known DIY venue here in Pittsburgh, or getting internships even with some of the more prominent venues here in Pittsburgh. Just like really trying to meet people, getting involved in your local scene, I think can still really help. I think eventually, if you want to keep aiming towards the stars, and if you want to have something maybe a little bigger within the music industry, I think maybe eventually you might have to move to like, a Nashville, LA, London, New York. But I think definitely for sure, if you get involved within your local scene and even just like your town, the closest city to you, I really think it can be beneficial. It's definitely worth your time.
Okay, so this will be my last thing, and then I'm going to jump y'all. I have to say, if you want to go into marketing, if you want to be in A&R, starting as a scout or starting as in a local marketing, your backyard better than anyone else, makes you so valuable across the board. If someone from anywhere in the music industry, anywhere in the world can call you and say, what's going on in Pittsburgh, I need to know you, that is your calling card to the music industry. All right, y'all have a good weekend.
Also take advantage of remote work. There's still like companies that still are like accepting people to work remotely. Like if you can work California time and you're on the East Coast, go ahead and do it. Yes, you may work a little bit later, but it is so worth it. Like take advantage of all the remote opportunities that you see. Like anytime I see a remote job or remote internship, I am quick to apply for it.
That's exactly what I did starting off in the pandemic too. I lived in Miami, and Miami does have a scene in music, but it's more like, Latin American music and everything. And I found difficulty finding jobs down there or internship down there because they wanted bilingual candidates and everything. But, looking for those opportunities online, like that's something that I definitely still I would still take advantage of that, because a lot of companies, even like record labels, like they're still virtual, they're still like online, and they'll take candidates that aren't necessarily like in those cities. But for me personally, I think like you need to look within your career goals and what you eventually want to do, because you may have to move to those cities. So like, for example, I knew that I wanted to work in digital marketing and everything, and then I got presented the opportunity to work on a marketing team at Madison Square Garden. So I had that opportunity handed to me where it was kind of like, okay, I had this opportunity to move to this city. I'm going to be able to get paid to move here. So I need to take advantage of that opportunity. So I think it's just a matter of, taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented in front of you, while also not sleeping on remote roles still to this day, even though a lot of companies are opening in person.
Anybody else
Yeah.
have any?
I actually moved to New York to pursue music and film, but I do think that obviously this was a longer time ago. So I think that the climate that we're in, I think everybody's learned that you can be anywhere you need to be. So there's something to be said for being available, for being able to go to a local show or being able to be present. But if I could go back, if there was a way for me to not have to, be on the scene all the time, I would absolutely have pursued more remote work or more remote opportunities, or just even I think the pandemic also is what pushed me into networking more online and looking for opportunities online, because before I thought the only way was I had to live there. I had to be in person. I have to go and like shake hands with particular people. So I think that just even being open to what is possible outside of being in a major city is helpful. And I also know people that travel. Like they'll travel for certain, conferences, they'll travel for certain events, they go to certain places and they'll use those opportunities to create those connections, and then they go back home. So I do think that there's room to create a lifestyle that works for you that doesn't have to be in a big city.
I totally agree with that. I think I followed you with that one on Friday, and I moved to London from Oxford. So I'm originally from Oxford in the UK. So I moved from a smaller city because it was more educational. It's a lot of students there, but it was more educational than music based. So for me, I thought I had to be in a place where it's all happening and where I'd meet the right people. But I now think that with these online opportunities and with COVID, it's opened a lot more opportunities. And for me, I'm able to work in the States in my front room in London, you know, and do all these different things. And that's Canada and worldwide. So there's so many opportunities out there. Don't limit yourself. The world is your oyster. All you have to do is take those opportunities. And there's so many out there.
Definitely. Like for me, before like the pandemic hit, like I would get invited to so many events. I was in LA and I was like, dang it, oh, it's LA. Why it has to always be LA? Like, even though I live in Atlanta, and Atlanta is a big music scene down here, we have like all the hip hop artists be down here for like a lot of, because I did work more in like the pop space. So it's like a lot of times I didn't have the opportunities down here. So like now that we have all these remote opportunities, like take advantage of it, like just go for it, because you never know. And also that's when networking, I feel like, comes hand in hand, because the more you build your connections up, the more you can also get like these different opportunities. And then in the future, if you want to move to the bigger cities, you can go ahead, because that's one of the plans for me. I'm like planning out one day I want to move to California. Obviously not right now because it'll be ridiculous with the apartment prices. But it's like you just got to take the time and take the opportunities that's presented in front of you, and just first focus on your local streams. Like just first focus on local and then move yourself up. I think we have time for one more question. I'm gonna have to leave a little bit early. Sorry guys, I take care of my grandma, so I'm gonna have to help her out in a few minutes.
No worries. This has been great.
If anybody has any more questions.
I think there's one in the chat from Jocelyn. Any tips for side gigs for remote work to get your feet wet, still have to pay the bills, LOL. And I would definitely recommend social media management and digital marketing. Like those are things that you don't have to be present for. Those are things that everybody needs, and it's also really easy to, I think, set up like freelance. So also if you're a freelancer, I would look into something like Upwork or a platform. I mean, you could do Fiverr as well. I tend to look for people on Upwork just because of the professionalism of the platform. But it also makes that kind of back end side easier for you getting paid and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, and being able to keep track of your work. But I would definitely recommend, like, there's a lot of room for both of those.
Also, there's a lot of opportunities for college students. It's probably like outside of the whole music industry space, but it's like content creation. Like a whole bunch of different like brands, they have different services, like youth marketing services. They have like opportunities for college students to get involved, and you can use that as a side hustle. And they also pay, you can make a lot of money from content creation, working with different brands. That's like something I use as a side hustle for me on the side, because you never know, like these opportunities, like they come quickly. And I love that they have all these platforms. And even if you aren't a college student, a lot of these side services still let you join in and get the opportunity.
I just want to answer this question real quick because I know we don't have much time left for Ash, because I feel like I know about this because I ran fan accounts, but it basically says how I run a fan account and I want to know how you can add that to your resume to sound professional. And I think it's honestly just the wording that you use and just, you know, how you phrase it. So for example, I was doing like a lot of charity work and everything with every single year when it was Harry's birthday, we would do like this one big massive organization where we would raise like $5,000, $10,000 for and stuff. And on my resume, I would just say how, like, you know, we did a collaboration effort, you know, to raise money for charities and how we raise that goal every single year and everything. And I also would just talk about how many followers we had or like what type of activities we do. So if we did like listening parties, and we would talk about how we did listening parties and how many people did those, or like if we had individual hashtags that we created for engagement to like keep track of it, I'd say how many people did the hashtags, or like it's just stuff like that where it's like you had the experience and you are essentially doing digital marketing for that artist, but you just have to word it in a way where it sounds professional, because a lot of people, when they are recruiting, they like to look at numbers on your resume rather than just like, the words and themselves. So I think like the one thing that you can do is, include numbers, include projects that you've done, and just word it in a way where it's like, you're making it sound professional. I need to find this one link, but there's this one link to a website where it basically says 183 verbs that you can use to make your resume sound more professional. And I'll link it in the chat really quickly. Let me find it.
I was going to say, it almost sounds like freelance digital marketer would be like the title, because then you just put in everything else that you did under that, because it all sounds very, very much like exactly what you do as a digital marketer.
Also, if you guys need sites for building up your portfolio, if you can't afford a website, I know Adobe has something free where people can use for their sites. Also, Notion. I'm obsessed with Notion. You can literally use it and make a whole portfolio website on Notion. Definitely recommend that. I will literally plug people in on Notion all the time.
I love Notion. It's like the greatest thing ever.
Yes.
If you don't have Notion, you need Notion.
I love that they have everything where you can do without having for the paid feature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love that. I use it for college also.
When I saw the link for this in Notion, I got happy. You don't even understand. I was like, oh, she's on some other stuff now. It's a different level of organization, I'm telling you.
Yep. And then you can find free templates on YouTube. If you can't create your own, you can find them free on YouTube and just duplicate it.
And you can also sell those templates on Gumroad. So you can make your own and then sell them. Another side gig.
Also, Etsy shops. If you create graphics, you can literally link the graphics on Etsy and sell them to different people. I know a lot of people who do that. And also, if you're into creating presets, you can also sell them on Etsy. I do that. I have that for one of my presets. So definitely recommend. Well, thank you guys so much for joining in this event. It was great connecting with you all. Thank you to all the panelists for taking the time out your day to speak with us and speak with all the viewers. It was a very great time having with you guys. I love doing these events and definitely going to be doing more of them in the future. So I will be sending out a whole newsletter where you guys will get to connect with all the different panelists. You'll see all their LinkedIn's and connect with them. The recording of this will be on YouTube for anybody who wants to watch back or anybody who wants to send it to their friends. I'm definitely working on getting it up this week if YouTube will stop playing with me. Literally,
Yeah,
upload the May event for the longest, and it's been your file is not working. It's been so I'm trying to figure that out. But thank you guys so much. I wish you guys a good weekend, and also Juneteenth is coming up, so make sure you guys go out and celebrate all amazing things for the Black people. Come out for us. Come out for us.
Thank you so much, you guys. Have a nice
day.
Thank you. This has been so great. I hope everybody connects later.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.